welcome our beloved viewers to Uganda Catholic Television, Good News for All. And particularly, you are most welcome to this Responsible Citizenship, Responsible Leadership program being brought to you right from the Catholic Secretariat in Zambia, from the Department of Justice and Peace of the Uganda Episcopal Conference. And to present today's program is Dr. Kiiza Emmanuel ALIBA, the National Executive Secretary of the Justice and Peace Department of the Uganda Episcopal Conference. We are happy as a department to always bring to you some series, some topics about responsible leadership, about responsible citizenship. We'd like to help each other as citizens of Uganda so that in whatever we do, we reflect our faith. What the church teaches us, we are able to live it in society. We are aiming at having a wonderful country where people live in peace, where people live in justice, where people are guided by the law of love. We wouldn't like when we go to church, things are different when we come to society. We'd like to bring that spirit of love from the church to society, from the church to places where we work, from the church to places where we rest from the church to the families. And when we do that, our country will be in peace. And this is what we are looking at. We have been bringing to you a number of topics, related topics. Now we want to begin another journey. Today we are starting another journey of bringing to you the pastoral letters of the Catholic bishops of Uganda. The Catholic bishops of Uganda have talked as individuals in their dioceses, but they have also talked through writing as a body, as a college of our bishops. Our bishops have written to us very many pastoral letters, and especially for you, the young Ugandans. Some of you may not have been born when some letters were written. So it is this, I'm using this opportunity of our Uganda Catholic Television to bring to you those pastoral letters so that you know at a given time the bishops wrote to us a letter. Even if you are not yet born, at least those who were born at that time, the bishops talked to them. So we are going to trace right from the first that was written to the last that the bishops have written. They have written many of them. So this is the opportunity. That's why I'm saying we are beginning a journey. This is going to take us quite a long time because the pastoral letters are many. So every time I come here, we shall be talking about one pastoral letter, why it was written, its content, just to summarize a few of these insights of what our bishops have written to us. These pastoral letters can be accessed on the website of the Uganda Episcopal Conference. They can be accessed in my office at the Catholic Secretariat. We have all of them. In case you need a copy, we can make a copy for you. And we are also struggling to ensure that we compile all of them into one book so that you can have a one-stop source where you can get all the pastoral letters of the Catholic bishops of Uganda. Actually, we have done the first draft, and we are waiting for the necessary approvals. After that, we look for the money to print these copies so that each one of you can access them. When you read generally all the pastoral letters of the bishops, you can see there are various themes that run through all of them. For example, the bishops assure us that God's abundant love and providence for his people and providence for his nation can easily be seen. So that theme of God's abundant love, the bishops stress it so much that we are not alone in our journey of life, that Ugandans are not alone in our history of life. God's abundant love can be seen through our history, through the events that we go through as Ugandans. We can clearly see God's abundant love, God's providence for his people, God's providence for the nation. You'll find in some letters, they talk of the beauty of Uganda. To be in the middle of the equator, to have no winter, from January to December, Ugandans are always very comfortable, in terms of weather. Our president usually tells us a Ugandan can manage to sleep outside for many months, without having any problem. So the comfortable weather that God has given us, the beautiful country that God has given us, this can easily be seen in the various letters of the bishops. The bishops also stress the promotion and protection of human dignity. This theme is very visible in the letters of the bishops, the various pastoral letters. Promotion and protection of human dignity. So, as Ugandans, we need to protect the human dignity, especially for the vulnerables, for those who are not able to stand by themselves in society, the poor, the widows, the children, the women, all those marginalized people, we need to protect them. We need to be, as people say, a voice of the voiceless. So the bishops stress that promotion and protection of human dignity in their various pastoral letters. We also see a theme where the bishops call upon Ugandans to be authentic witnesses to the gospel, just as our gallant Uganda matters. This one is very visible in the various pastoral letters of the bishops, calling Ugandans to be authentic witnesses, not to practice lip service only, but to witness what we believe in our families, in our areas of work, in our places of leisure. So we be authentic witnesses. I like the Bishop of Hoima. He's very passionate about families. He says he would like to see we, the parents, handing over our faith to our children, so that where we are stepping from, that gap can be filled in by our children, handing over our faith through witness to our children. Now, the Bishop of Hoima, Bishop Vincent Kirabo Amot, is very passionate about families. Whenever he's preaching to us, when it comes to families as witnesses of the gospel, he's very passionate about that. So the bishops write their letters, and we can easily see that theme running through, where the bishops are calling upon Ugandans to be authentic witnesses. Not only that, the bishops also call for working for a common good, collaborative efforts, working together I remember in one of the pastoral letters, they said, in rebuilding our nation, we need to work like termites. I remember it. No? We need to work like termites. When the termites realized that their house has been trampled upon and it has fallen, termites do not call for a meeting that who should do what. No, as soon as they realize their house is broken, they come together and immediately start working, each one in its capacity, and by the time you wake up in the morning, the anthill is already built. So the bishops call for us to work for a common good, to work together, each contributing in his or her capacity in our nation building. There is also a theme that runs through these pastoral letters, the theme of reconciliation, forgiveness, renewal. The bishops tell us that we are human beings. We cannot live as angels on earth. Although our aim is be perfect as your heavenly Father is perfect, but to realize that sometimes we fall. Sometimes we hurt one another. Sometimes we are not friends to each other. So the bishops call upon us, when we realize that, immediately we should reconcile, we should forgive each other, we should renew our love for each one of us. The issue of peace building and conflict resolution. We need to build peace in our society. The bishops call on us that wherever you are, be an instrument of peace. As we said in the last program, happy are the peacemakers. They shall be called the children of God. You know. So the bishops call on us to build peace among ourselves. We keep building peace day after day. We reconcile with one another and ensure that we are having a peaceful life wherever we are. We can also see a theme of marriage and family relations. And they talk of strengthening the domestic church. The bishops look at our families as a domestic church. For me, I got that one very well during COVID. During COVID, we were told to stay at home. So when we stayed at home, that's when I clearly and practically understood what the bishops talk about having a domestic church. So for us, we started, all our children were at home because schools had been closed. And our family is quite a large one. It's a large family with our own biological children, but with other children that we support at school, and some of them preferred coming to stay with us. So we became a domestic church. Every Sunday, a priest would come at home to say Mass for us. And we would pay attention to all the health regulations, make sure that sanitize and so on. But I was impressed on how we could sing at home during Mass. It was like a full choir. I would sing tenor. Our son Junior would sing bass. Our mom and Martha, they sing soprano plus Elizabeth. Then Immaculate and Josephine, they sing alto. So the choir was full. We only needed amplification if we wanted to sing for the, for others to feel the beauty of music. But the choir was full. Then on Saturdays, we would have benediction, and then have our confession at home, Then on some selected days, we would go to clean the cathedral, the church, all of us as children, so that the church, our cathedral, remains clean. So we could touch that domestic church. When the bishops are talking about the domestic church, we really experienced it during COVID, where we were close to each other. We make practice for the hymns we are going to sing on Sunday. Two of us have to take the readings. Someone has to take the petitions. And so as a family, we were seeing the domestic church. So the bishops tell us in their pastoral letters that we should keep like that in our families, that we feel that we are the church, we are the backbone of the church. They call upon all families to feel we are a domestic church. The other one, the other theme that runs through the bishop's letters is something to do with democracy, constitutionalism, and the rule of law. I remember when the constitution was being made, the bishops made a submission to the Constituent Assembly. They wrote a pastoral letter making a submission to government to consider guiding how the Constitution of Uganda should be made. So the theme of the democracy, constitutionalism, and rule of law is very clear, running through the various pastoral letters of our bishops. And the other one that is also very clear is the theme of charity and Christian love. We have a very big department called Caritas Uganda, and there are various Caritases in the various dioceses, and Caritas is one department that helps us to experience the love of God in tangibly. They have a saying, ubi caritas deus ibi est. I don't know how to put it very well, but where there is charity, there God lives. The Holy Father started one Sunday, a Sunday before Christ the King Sunday. Christ the King Sunday usually is the last Sunday of the year. So that Sunday before Christ the King Sunday is the Sunday meant for the poor. The World Day for the Poor. The Pope started this World Day of the Poor for us to have a particular attention to the people who are not living very well in this present life. We pay particular attention to them. Why the Pope put it the Sunday before Christ the King Sunday, he had an intention to bring to the attention of the entire church that Christ, the universal King, is a king of everybody, including the poor. So before we celebrate Christ the King Sunday, let us pay particular attention to the poor people. We help them in their various needs, so that when they are also coming to celebrate Christ the King Sunday, they really feel that Christ is our King through the arms, what we have given them, through our support, through our, so that we pay particular attention to the poor. So this is what the bishops are telling us: charity and Christian love. When you look at the various letters of the bishops, something which is clear is also respect for land, respect for nature, respect for environment. The bishops have particular letters that deal with this. But when you read through most of the pastoral letters, you see our bishops calling upon us to respect our land, to respect the nature, to respect our beautiful environment. The other theme that runs through is the pastoral care for the children, the pastoral care for the youth, and the pastoral care for women. So when you look at the various pastoral letters of the bishops, you'll find they are very emphatic on caring for the young people, on caring for the youth, on caring for the women, that we put particular attention to these categories of people with the name of lifting them up so that we have a balanced society. We have an equilibrium. So when the children are okay, when the youth are fine, when the women are okay in society, then we have a balanced society. So the bishops stress that point of us paying attention to those categories of people. The bishops also, in their pastoral letters, encourage us to fight against poverty, to fight against ignorance, to fight against diseases, so that we live a healthy life, we live a meaningful life. So the bishops in their pastoral letters, also they stress that point of wealth creation. We fight against poverty. They say poverty demeans. Poverty is not good. So the bishops encourage us to live a meaningful life, a life that where you have the needs of life. Every family should be able to have the needs of life in the various families. So the bishops, we are about to conclude this first session. The bishops also, in their pastoral letters, they talk about promotion of Christian vocations, the various vocations, the family apostolate, the priestly vocation, the vocation to religious life, the vocation to, they talk about that in many of their pastoral letters. When they are talking about having good families, they are saying, let us have a basis where let's have a foundation where Christian vocations can come from, vocation to priesthood. For those who like to be nuns and brothers, they talk about those vocations. And finally, dear viewer, the bishops call us to prayer. Prayer is our engine. Prayer is what makes us stand strong. So the bishops call upon us that we have prayer at an individual level. Each one of us, Ugandans, we should be men and women of prayer. Prayer at the family level. A family that prays together stays together. That's some of what they write. A family that prays together stays together. And prayer at small Christian community, we meet there and we pray, we break the word, we read the Bible, and prayer at a communal level, we go to our churches and pray on the specific dates. So, dear viewer, thank you for keeping watching our television, Uganda Catholic Television, Good News for All, and thank you for your love for this program. Now we are going to stop here for the first session. We shall come back, let's have some water, then we shall come back, and we start looking at their letters now one by one. One by one. The journey is going to be long, but we shall be there. Thank you for watching Uganda Catholic Television, Good News for All. Welcome back from that short break. Thank you for loving Uganda Catholic Television. Good news for all. Before we went for a break, we are looking at the various themes that can be generated from the Catholic bishops' pastoral letters. The themes can be many, but those that I have discussed with you are some that I, as an individual, I have read all the pastoral letters, all of them, I've read them. So I generated some few themes from each of them, and I wanted to share them with you, our beloved viewers. So now let's start with the first pastoral letter. The first pastoral letter that we have here was the one written in 1961 by the Most Reverend Archbishop Joseph Kiwanuka, the Archbishop of Rubaga. He wrote a letter to the people at that time in 1961, giving them guidance. And this letter is called the Church and State Guiding Principles. The Church and State Guiding Principles. In this letter, if you want to know the direction, how the church should work together with the state, please read that letter. The Archbishop gave a very good direction. You remember at that time, in 1961, there were very many discussions taking place within the country and in London, because Uganda was being prepared to become independent. You remember we got our independence in 1962. So a year before, actually not even a year, because this letter was published in November, end of November, December 1961. So it took like 9 more months, because we got our independence in October. So it took like 9 months for us to become independent. So there were a lot of discussions going on in how the independent Uganda should look like. So the Archbishop used that opportunity also to write to Ugandans and guide them how they should be in an independent Uganda. So he gave the principles of how the church should work with the state in order to have that peaceful coexistence. This letter, up to now, is very relevant. Every time I read it, I get new insights. When I look at what is taking place, like for us in Hoima, now we have just had a by-election. We lost our dear chairperson, the district chairperson. He died in an accident. So last week we held a by-election of the district chairperson in Hoima. Before the elections, I read this letter. And after the elections, I read the letter. I could see what the Archbishop told us, very alive, very true. I think the people of Hoima, whoever is viewing now the Uganda Catholic Television, have the opportunity to read this letter. Read it all. Don't read part of it. It's not a very big letter. It says it's small. A pastoral letter is usually not very big. There are some that are relatively big, but most of them, the bishops are very concise in their words. So issue short pastoral letters so that they can be intelligibly understood by not only the Catholics. Many of these letters are not meant for only the Catholics. No, it's for all people of God. The Archbishop starts this letter, beloved children in Christ. So if you are a beloved child in Christ, this letter is meant for you. So he wrote to everybody, not the Catholics. So there were other things not going on well at that time, when people were preparing to become independent. Some of these parties had not yet started well. There were some cultural connotations, like Kabaka Yeka. There were some religious connotations that the Protestants have to be in one party, the Catholics have to be in one party. And Archbishop said, this is a dangerous route to take. When you become sectarian, it's a dangerous route to take, because each member is free to participate in a multi-party dispensation. You are free to choose the part of your to belong to a part of your choice. You know, so he really gave very good guidance on how we can live in a multi-party dispensation and we live in peace. You know, I always, when I'm dealing with multi-party dispensation, I always bring, when I'm deepening multi-party democracy in Uganda, sometimes we move to train the district councillors on how they should debate, on how they should work in a multi-party dispensation. I usually take to them a bucket of fruits. I put apple there, I put pineapple there, I put grapes there, I put, yellow bananas there. And so the whole bucket, I present it to them. Then I say, which fruit is the best? Each one comes and takes, this one takes a yellow banana, another one takes a purple grape, grapes, another one takes a blue, So I said, now, working in a multi-party dispensation is like having various colors of fruits, but all of them are good. When you eat a purple berry, it is so nice. So if you choose a purple color, no problem. Go with that purple color. If you choose a yellow color, if you are interested in a yellow banana, go ahead with the yellow banana. But don't then say, you can convince the other purple one to enjoy the yellow banana. You can convince, you can cross, the blue, the yellows, and so on. But all of the parties are like fruits in a bucket. There is nothing bad inherent inside each party, and there is nothing, it is the choice of an individual. If you choose to enjoy a yellow party, go ahead. If you choose to enjoy a red party, go ahead. But then that choice should not interfere with the choice of the other. You can only convince the other to join you, but not harass somebody because of the color somebody has chosen. So His Grace, the Archbishop, treated this matter. He gave very good guiding principles on how we should live under a multi-party dispensation. He said the division is most likely to take place, but the division should be solved by principles. We should live on principles. So he gave his guidance and says the forms of governance may change, but when they change, we have to move with that change, because he saw through, I hope you all remember that Uganda was not a colony as such of the colonial master of the British. It was a protectorate. We were governed indirectly. We were not governed directly. Remember, the governing body was a business arm of the British. That was the Imperial British East African Company. So it was governing us. So our kings and chiefs remained autonomous. You hear the Kabaka of Buganda, the Kyabazing of Busoga, the Omukama of Bunyoro, the Omukama of Toro. They all remained in charge of the people. Although when the agreements were signed between the British and those chiefs and kings, there was a loss of power. The kings and chiefs lost some power to govern the people. And then towards independence, when Uganda now had to receive independence, now the monarchies became constitutional monarchies. Constitutional monarchies are not the same as the first monarchies before Uganda became independent. Up to now, those confusions have not yet been cleared by some people, and some of the wise men and women have, have made it a point, to confuse, the people about these monarchies, constitutional monarchies and the traditional monarchies. So monarchies became, part of the constitution, but now they had less powers than the powers that they had. So in such circumstance, the bishop wrote guiding the people on how to live in a constitutional monarchy. You'll find the guidance here, monarchies being separated from politics. You see, there was then he guided people on also how to participate in the governance of the people. He called upon the people to govern themselves well. And now that Uganda was becoming, was entering into a multi-party dispensation, so he guided also people about that democracy does not destroy kingship. This one is on page 10 here. Democracy does not destroy kingship. People should continue with their traditions, with their traditional chiefs and kings, and how they should operate in a multi-party dispensation. This is what the bishop guided. And he guided also what the church can do and must do in the governance. This one I should read. He says, I wish here to clarify for you this question of what the church can and must do in relation with politics and what is outside of her domain. So he gave it. Please get yourself a copy and read the Church and State Guiding Principles by Archbishop Joseph Kiwanuka. What are the powers of the church and those of state? The Archbishop was very elaborate, and this one is very important, and he got it from Immortale Dei. Whatever is consecrated to God, all matters concerning souls, religious and moral matters, are governed by the church who judges them. On the other hand, whatever concerns the government of the people in temporal matters belongs to the realm of the state. So this is, he really gives a very beautiful guidelines on how the church should work with the state, what the state must do for the church. And so he gave a lot of guidance. Let the church and state help one another to live in harmony. So the Archbishop was very emphatic on that, living with one another in harmony. Yes. Then he gives guidance also on political parties, how the political parties should be treated and how they should treat themselves. And he gives guidance on how people should belong, like on page 17, all citizens take part in a democratic government, and they are not reduced to find themselves unexpectedly burdened with impossible laws. So all citizens should participate actively. Yes. He gave also the criteria for the choice of party, especially for you, our politicians, you, our members of parliament, you, the district leaders. You'll find this letter a very rich letter for you. Please have some time and read it. Have some time and look for that copy, download it from our website, print it and read it. I know for like the MPs who come from Karamoja, by the time your driver leaves Kampala and reaches Karamoja, you'll have completed this book. You'll have read it all, just in one day as you are traveling. So this book is very important, especially for you people who are very active in politics. Read this guidance that the bishop gives us. So you have a criteria for the choice of the party. Now, registration for elections, he gives guidance because people were registering now for elections. He gives guidance. There was, at that time, there was some propaganda for these elections, so they needed some guidance. How to choose a good candidate. The Archbishop guides us how to choose a good candidate. Like he says in number 1, first see if the man of your choice has the fear of God. Someone who does not fear God is not worthy to govern God's people. Where will he take them? If someone does not fear God, how can he govern God's people? So the Archbishop gave you criteria here on how to select, how to get a worthy candidate. He says, number 2, he says, always choose a man or woman of high moral character. One you can see will fight for what is right and will not give way to threats. High moral character. That is the person you should choose. So the Archbishop gave the guidance here in this letter, guiding principles, church and state. Choose one who is not led by the spirit of dissatisfaction, but who understands clearly what is right. There are people with an insatiable appetite. They will never get satisfied. So the Archbishop says, look out, and if you follow the guidance of the Archbishop, choose one who is unselfish. So corrupt leaders, try to avoid them. Choose one who is unselfish. Choose people who can consider everything objectively. This is the criteria. So the bishop the Archbishop gave us what to avoid things to avoid, you know, in politics, things to avoid. So, and then at the end, in the conclusion, the Archbishop said, let me conclude. I hope that those who will read this letter with an open heart will find it clearer. It will find it a clearer view of the present political situation and will not be deluded by speeches of those who are merely preoccupied with securing votes. People who will try to influence weaker minds to choose any party or merely deceive and lead others into dishonest activities. So the bishop concludes, and he gives us the last word: trust in God, have recourse to the Blessed Virgin Mary, the Mother of God and Queen of Uganda. They will never forsake you. Mary, the Virgin Mary, continues at all times to show that she is really our mother. So he ends and he signs the letter. So this is the first letter that I wanted to bring to your attention, the beautiful and wonderful letter that His Grace wrote to his people, to all the people at that time, guiding them on how the church should work with the state. Thank you very much for viewing Uganda Catholic Television, Good News for All, and thank you for loving our program, Responsible Citizenship. We shall come in another series bringing another pastoral letter of the bishops. Until we meet, keep viewing Uganda Catholic Television, Good News for All.